Where you work and who you work with matters. I'm Dr. Jim Dalton, President and CEO of Damar. We're dedicated to helping vulnerable kids and adults with disabilities. Right now, we're looking for tough people with big hearts, people who don't think twice about standing up for someone else, and who love seeing others grow and succeed. Is your job fulfilling emotionally, or are you just filling time? Learn more about open positions at damar.org.
Rob Kendall, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, the program is Statehouse Happenings, your weekly look at what's going on with Indiana politics and government. Before we begin, let's meet the award-winning panelist this week. You know him as the owner and operator of IndyPolitics.org, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz. Hello.
Robert.
So for the record, Jim Merritt did not quit. He has not been fired. He has not been dismissed. He is just not with us this week, and he is scheduled to be back next week. But in the meantime, it's all you, Mr. IndyPolitics.org. Let's start with this. So Scott Presler, do you know who he is?
Who is Scott Presler?
Okay, so he's like a internet influencer. He's a conservative activist. He is the guy who last year knocked on all those doors in Pennsylvania, or 2 years ago now, I guess, and organized all those people to go vote, registered all those people to go vote for Donald Trump. That's sort of what he does. He gets people to go vote in elections, or at least in one election. Yeah. He did. He has now declared war on the senators. Now, he did this during redistricting itself, and I'm going to read you the tweet here in a second, who did not vote for the redistricting, voted against the redistricting last December. Okay, and here is the tweet. This was yesterday. As we're putting this together on a Wednesday. Quote, if you live in Indiana, please stop what you're doing right now and add May 5th to your calendar. May 5th is the Indiana Republican primary. We are going to, in all caps, defeat any Republican that didn't support redrawing congressional maps. It will be a day of reckoning peacefully.
Okay.
I think of all the things there are to talk about, redistricting for a lot of people is like number 10 on the list. And there's a lot of people think that's a magic bullet. What say you?
Well, it's number 10 on the list of 5. Let's put it that way. I'll start with that. Obviously, I mean, we know redistricting is sort of in the back of everybody's mindset, but lawmakers are focused on so many other important issues right now, as we're basically down to the last week and a couple days of session. So it's get out of here by February 27th. That's when they want to be. That's when they want to be done.
That is their target date.
That's their target date to be done, and I think they'll get there. As far as
when it comes to not working, these guys are usually pretty good at hitting their target date.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, it's like any other process. Work expands to fill the time that you give it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've taught college for 20 years. If I gave my students 2 months to get a paper done, they take 2 months. I give them 2 weeks, they take 2 weeks. So
yeah.
No matter how much time you give them, lawmakers will take up to the last minute to get everything done. So that's kind of point number one. Point number two, I remember seeing this Scott Presler guy early on saying that this is what Hoosiers want. This is not what Hoosiers want. Polling after polling after polling has showed redistricting is undesirable. Nobody wanted it. You could win on your own merits. And the thing is, I don't see if you're going to run in a primary, to beat an incumbent, you got to have two things. Number one, tell people why the incumbent is bad.
Yep.
And number two, why you're a better choice.
I also got to have a lot of money.
And you got to have the money to do it. With this matter, if I'm Travis Holdman or Ron Alting or Greg Good or any other lawmakers who voted against, Ron Alting voted for redistricting, Good and Holdman voted against it. The thing is, okay, who wanted this? Donald Trump wanted it. Okay, fine. None of my constituents wanted it, and that's what I listened to. I listened to my constituents. Greg Good had town hall meetings. A lot of these guys had town hall meetings, and they kept the doors open. They listened to their constituents, and a clear majority of Hoosiers did not want this. So I don't know why. If your primary thing is to go, I'm going to run against this guy because he did what his constituents told him to do.
Yeah, and it like offensive is a strong word, right? Because we all know who and what we're dealing with here when it comes to politics. But it as a voter, right? I look at this and go, okay, I'm getting screwed on my property taxes. I'm getting screwed on my electric bills. We've got things like the IEDC that are totally out of control. We've got all sorts of structural issues with Indiana government, like Medicaid, that are major issues. I mean, there's you could just make a laundry list, and yet a guy like this who doesn't live in our state is going to come here and tell us what's most important to us, and he's going to tell us an issue that to most people isn't the most important issue. They're going to campaign on that. I don't understand. I just don't think Trump is popular enough for that to move the needle.
The last I saw, polling wise with Donald Trump in Indiana. He was basically tied like 47-47. In the state, he won by what 20 something odd points in the last go around. So I don't see Trump, being that much of a big deal in the redistricting battle. And by the way, uh, only half the Senate is up.
That's right.
So the other half isn't.
Right.
And so that's kind of point number one. And if their goal is to get rid of enough senators to defeat Rod Bray, because I think that's what their goal is. Their goal is to hopefully defeat enough senators in the primary when it's time for elections, who's going to be Senate president, vice president, all the other stuff. They have enough to get rid of Rod Bray, but what they forget is there are 20 Republicans who aren't on the ballot, and other several Democrats as well. So the math isn't there,
Including Rod Bray.
And
let me tell you how this is going to go for these people, because as someone who has been sorely disappointed on numerous occasions, a lot of people huff and puff when they're running, and then they get in there, and then they get told how it's going to be. Oh, you like being here. Oh, you like this perk. Oh, you like that perk. No, here's what you're going to do, and here's how you're going to vote. And I can't tell you the amount of times, which is why I'm just totally out of the game of publicly supporting people anymore. Of people who, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and blah, blah, blah. To see the number 2 stooge now, the Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith. He was supposed to be Mr. Freedom Fighter, and where is he at now? He's in a bad jacket, posting some viral video about Ron Alting, right? So I think these people think that we're going to get these guys in there. Even if you do, you're going to be sorely let down, because the system is going to swallow these people up.
Well, I don't think they're necessarily told what they're going to do, because obviously people have choice; they can do whatever they want. I think what these guys, they have this sort of romanticized vision of Mr. Smith goes to Washington. I'm going to pound my fist on the table and talk about the great orators of Washington and Jefferson. We're going to reform this government, blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. Then you get there like, whoa, that's no moon, that's a space station.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a bureaucracy. And the one thing I was always taught, if you learn the bureaucracy, you can master the system.
Yeah. Well, and so this is also the interesting part of this, because, okay, let's say this Presler guy does come in, right? And he's got a pretty good ground operation. But it's one thing to have a ground operation that you spend months and months and months, like he did in Pennsylvania. He just basically camped out there, right, during the presidential election. And he got to know the lay of the land and the issues and the voter registration. He's not going to do that for Indiana, right? And there's too many of these people. The issues in Lafayette are going to be different than an issue in Fishers or Evansville or Terre Haute. And so you have too much diversity, whereas if it's Pennsylvania, I'm going for the whole state, and there's one candidate.
Pennsylvania is basically Indiana sideways, in a nutshell, is what it is. You have a couple of urban populations, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and by the way, Philadelphia is where most of the people in Pennsylvania live anyway, in that area. Then you have a lot of rural space in between, just like Gary, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, New Albany, Evansville. Some of your urban centers, but the rest of it is very rural, and that's fine. But the thing is, Northern Indiana is not Central Indiana, is not Southern Indiana. Every Senate race has their own unique issues, their own unique challenges. The challenges in Terre Haute are not the same challenges in Indianapolis, not the same challenges in Fort Wayne. They're not. It's just that simple. And as a state senator, you have to have the relationships with your local officials, with your constituents, to know what their issues are. And one thing that lawmakers have been very good at least as of lately, is get in touch with their constituents, like having their town hall meetings, having their third houses. Hey, here's what you want to do. Here's what we need to do. That type of thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like I said, there are so many issues that you could run on. You and I have talked about this for years. These local elections, and I still kind of consider state senate and state house local elections, even though they're sort of a larger geographical area. But they're basically what I call door hanger elections, right? You got to come up with 3 or 4 strong talking points. You get on those, and everywhere you go, and everything you talk about, and everything you do has got to be, especially if you're going to defeat an incumbent, right? These 3 or 4 things. And when you make your number one issue, which basically all of these people challenging, who hopped on board because of the no redistricting vote, they've made redistricting the top of the billboard issue for them, because that's the requirement, I guess, to get some of these outside groups to come in and support you. Well, you're losing the ability to make issues that resonate with more people your top of the line issue that might actually get people to vote for you.
The big issue in Indiana right now is inflation and affordability.
That's right.
That's issue number 1.
Yep.
And number 2 and number 3, healthcare and some other school funding. But the big issue is affordability, and that's what every lawmaker in the state right now is focused on. Is focused on affordability. whether it is healthcare, whether it's childcare. It's literally I call it the kitchen table
Yeah.
session, because literally that's what this session has been. And to come in with redistricting, like, what? Really? You're kidding, right? That's what you want to talk about. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out, my wife's hours have been cut. Our kids have healthcare related issues. We got stuff we got to do. And you talk about an imaginary line on a map.
One of the most incredible journeys I've witnessed is seeing people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including autism, get the care they deserve. It's life-changing. A not-for-profit started by families for families, Damar helps thousands in central Indiana live more joyful and independent lives. You can help bring hope to countless families in Indiana with a donation to support our work. Visit damar.org to learn more.
Rob Kendall, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz. The program is Statehouse Happenings, your weekly look at what's going on with Indiana politics and government. Thanks again to Abdul. He's hosting the Statehouse Happenings for us for probably, again, the next couple weeks, and then we hope to be at our new forever home by then. So thanks to Indy Politics. Thanks to WYRZ 98.9 for letting us record the show here. Speaking of the Statehouse, Nikki Kelly tweeted out something about this earlier this week, and I thought it was spot on. And she was lamenting how the process has really changed, especially over the last several years, in which it is very, very, it was always kind of hard, but getting very, very, very hard to keep track of what's going on with the General Assembly, with these bills as they approach a deadline, because so often things are getting thrown in that there's no debate, no discussion, no testimony on. And then we saw this last year with the IU stuff, right? With they gave Braun basically carte blanche over Indiana University. And now you've seen it on this election bill, which we'll maybe talk about here in a second, for early voting, where things just get thrown in without any input. And it seems like if you want people to be involved in the process, this is the worst way possible to incentivize them to do that.
Well, I think it's a DLGF bill, a bill that goes to the Department of Local Government and Finance. That started out as like maybe 50 pages, it's now like 426 pages, because there's so much stuff in there that technically you can sort of in the state house there's a rule called germaneness, that a bill has to be sort of germane, or an amendment has to be germane to the topic
That's right.
at hand. What they've done is they played 6 degrees of separation. Who was in A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, who was in this movie who was in this movie with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, that's how they do it. Like, okay, if I get 6 degrees of separation in here, why my bill for Brownsburg Roads has something to do with Evansville schools? Hey, it's infrastructure, and then people like property taxes. So, there we go. Like, whoa. No, but I see where Nikki's coming from. It is, and I also think too, what's kind of sort of played in this session as well, is that because we spent the first 2 weeks talking about redistricting, and we started early.
Waste of time.
We started early, and that sort of threw off everybody's calendar and everybody's schedule. I was in the State House yesterday, and talking to some friends in the hallway, like, how you guys feel? Like, Abdul, nobody wants to be here. Everybody's mad. We're ticked off. And I got a couple other stories I'll be working on the next couple of days. They're going to almost sort of blow the roof off of everything.
Oh.
Here we go again.
Well, it usually is February that the Valentine's Day, now expedited calendar, but you're still pretty much right on schedule.
Yeah, I've got basically 2 stories. One's going to break this. They'll probably break this weekend in the cheat sheet.
Oh, yes. Be sure to get yourself a cheat sheet subscription over there at indypolitics.org.
I did all this with all my edibles. So,
well, it's
all because it's Ramadan, so I gave them edibles for 30 days.
I see. It's a very bad way to do government if you actually care about transparency. And most importantly, like, again, this election bill, which we'll talk about here in a second, you've got a major change that you're going to make to the way people vote in Indiana. Now, I happen to support it, but I also support the idea of people being able to come and have their say, even if you're going to ignore them, let them go through the process. And just with, a week and a half, 2 weeks to go in the session, oh, here it is now. They're basically they're telling people we don't really care what you have to say.
And in a nutshell, and the bill you're talking about is basically, it takes from 30 days to early vote to basically 18 days.
28 to 16.
16 days to early vote. Now, the thing is, I can't remember whether it's early vote in person or whether mail-in absentee ballots. That I can't remember, because if it's mail-in absentee ballots, it's still got 30 days, if my memory serves me correct.
This is related to, okay, so let's pivot here on this. It's Indiana Capital Chronicle. Others had a big article about this. there is now an amendment to change early voting right now in Indiana. There are 28 days you can early vote. That's a calendar month in person. We're talking about you go to a vote center or a polling location and you can early vote. This amendment would change that to 16 days to early vote in person.
Okay. Now, there's a question about, does this disenfranchise voters, does it turn voters off? At the end of the day, if you look at the math, because I'm looking at some early voting data, the first couple of weeks of early voting, very few people show up. It's only like a handful of
That's
people.
right.
Most people show up around 2 weeks before. Like, oh my God, I got to get an early vote.
Right.
Around that 2 week window. So I could see technically that being the thing of like, hey, if we gave people 28 days to do it, but nobody does it until day 10, what do we really need those first
That's right.
10 days for to vote?
Because you have all this, and this was the point of the amendment, and I agree with this, right? You have all this cost because you have to pay these people to man these places where people can early vote. That's one of it. Two is the administrative side of it, because let's face it, regular people really can't do this because it's during the day. So if you're an able-bodied adult in the workforce, you're out on that. So you've really limited your talent pool, right, to be able to get people to do this. And they've just said, look, all this cost of this administrative nightmare, so we can't even staff some of these places. Let's cut this down. Dude, if you got 16 days to spend 1 hour to do something, if you really want to do it, you can go do it.
Another thing too is, with vote centers now, you can vote anywhere in the county.
Yeah,
You don't have to vote in your
that's right.
in your home precinct. So, in a nutshell, nothing's and if you look at it from a sort of a win-loss ratio, it's basically a wash.
Right.
Yes, you have shorter time to vote in person, but you can still vote anywhere
That's right.
in the entire county.
On your way home from work, whatever.
Exactly, and it's got Saturdays and Sundays.
That's right.
Too.
So
and the thing is, and by the way, and you're absolutely right. It only takes at the most an hour out of your day.
I don't think early voting has ever taken me more than maybe 20 minutes. I don't, because I think I voted in person on election day in 24. I think maybe 20, maybe like it's normal elections. It takes 5 minutes. You're in and out.
Yeah, and say I vote at the city county building because of what I do for a living. Got all the political stuff to do, so I go first day early voting. I would say that was like the longest time it took me to vote. It was like maybe 10 minutes to stand in line.
Yeah,
and that was it.
My point on all this though is I agree with that, what they're trying to do. I agree that and support it. However, to throw that out as they did basically at the start of this week with almost no notice and no or maybe it was the end of last week. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Whenever they threw this out, there's no public testimony on this. There's no input on it. That's a major issue. That's a major issue the public deserves to have a say in. And I just think that we're seeing more and more of this where the public doesn't get any say or any heads up, and there's not even really much of a debate on it. Just gets thrown in. We're doing this, and it just seems like a very closed door society.
You see, but the thing is too, also blame the public in part because the public never got involved in the first place.
But I think they were involved, like last year when they had the hearings on the election stuff. I think the people showed up to that. I agree with you. The public is largely apathetic, but I think you have to give someone a chance not to help themselves, right?
You get what you pay for.
That's right.
In a nutshell, when the public doesn't do anything or get involved or make an example out of one of these guys and throws them out of office, then they just basically do what they want to do. You know how we got the property tax caps? Because Bart Peterson lost.
That's right.
That sent shockwaves through the state of Indiana more than almost 20 years ago. Oh my God, back in 2007.
Yeah.
And when that happened, all hell broke loose and lawmakers got the message. And sometimes to get lawmakers off their butts, that's what you need.
Yeah. Rob Kendall, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, Jim Merritt, not here this week. He'll be back next week. See how I caught that there? The program is Statehouse Happenings. Your weekly look at what's going on with Indiana politics and government. Speaking of property tax caps, and if you go way back in the time machine, you are, of course, a historian of Indiana politics and government, especially the past 20-plus years that you've been here. Many people don't realize the goal of property tax caps was initially local government reform. Governor Mitch Daniels wanted major changes made to how local governments operate. And in the end, he basically cut a deal with the legislature and said, after Peterson lost, et cetera, well, the pitchforks are out. You can either have local government reform or you can get the property tax caps. They took the tax cap deal, and ever since, local government has just kept getting more and more unaccountable. That may be about to change on some level because there is a bill moving forward, and it looks like it may actually finally get something. Now, this is about like the bare minimum that will force many townships in Indiana into mergers.
Yes. If I remember search correct, I think they took the bill with like on the point spread. It's like how productive is the township, that type of
Oh,
thing.
there's a scoring system,
Yeah, there's a scoring
of
system,
course.
and which you can appreciate, Mr. Sports,
Oh yes, no, I'm very excited.
Mr. FanDuel parlor guy.
Yes.
And if you under a certain number, then you have to merge. If you don't, then you can't merge. Um, it's more convoluted. I just say merge them all together because to me, township government is a waste of freaking.
So here's the stats on this. This is interesting. So the Capitol Chronicle had the article. Senate Bill 270 is the bill, as you said. There are low performance measures to force townships to merge, and then cities can take over township territory
If the
if
township is within their borders,
right if
i.e., Center Township.
80% of the territory has to be in the town or city, and half the population has to be in the town or city. So I'd gather like probably Lincoln Township, where I live, may qualify for that. Here was what I thought was interesting. They said in this article 300 townships could face consolidation. That, however, there are over 1,000 townships in the state of Indiana. So about 70% of our townships would remain largely operating unchanged, unfortunately, as they currently are.
Hey, but it's a start.
Well, it is. And you and I have talked about this for years on this program and other programs we've done together. It's a really hard lift to get these township governments to change because the township trustees often serve as the training ground and then the potential challenging ground for any of these state lawmakers.
Yes, and that's gonna. And but the thing is, once again, it's property taxes, it's local government cuts, it's Senate bill, it's Senate Rolled Act 1. Uh, the spigot's being turned off left and right, and the property taxes are really going to hit folks this year and next year when the caps and sort of ceilings really start to kick in. So I say do it now while you can control the process before the process controls you.
Well, that's the thing. Do you want to drive the train, or do you want to stand in front of the train?
Or we'll leave through the doors with the window. Pick the metaphor of your choice.
And so this is what's going to be fascinating to me, because you are going to see. I went to a meeting on school funding a couple weeks ago here where I live in Brownsburg, and they said the thing that I've been saying for a year now, which is any savings you're going to get on your property tax bill. Now, most people are going to see some savings this year because of that $300 or $200 or whatever your number is going to be. But they've done nothing to address the assessments. And the assessments are going to continue to rise, which means that savings is going to get gobbled up. So what you're going to see after this year is probably a slew of school corporations go for these operating referendums, school referendums. You're going to see over the next year or two any savings gobbled up by assessment increases. And then eventually, now they keep kicking the can down the road, eventually the local income tax thing is going to kick in. And if people were pissed before, which they were, you may see mutiny once all this stuff kicks in.
You see, but once again though, and you being the burn the village to the ground, I'm more the control burn type guy. My thing is this: at the end of the day, who's usually have to make a tough choice? How much government do you want? Plain and simple. Because it's not free; it's got to be paid for. You got to have roads, you got to have sewers, you got to have police and fire, you got to have all that stuff. The question is, how much do you want, and how much are you willing to pay for? It's like going to heaven. Everybody wants to go, but nobody wants to die.
But that's part of the thing, though, right? Is I'm totally fine with water and sewer, and boy, do we pay for it here, right? The police, the fire, but I also can look at every single part of the government, including the school system, where we have 2 football fields here now in Brownsburg. We have 4 field houses. We have state-of-the-art tennis court, like all of these things. And then you say, hey, I also think, and I don't think this makes me anti-public safety, our fire department potentially can be streamlined a little bit more. We can do things that don't affect the quality of service and yet are more affordable for the taxpayer. And in this soup that they've created, in which the funding for local governments everywhere is beyond understanding for the average person, it's too big of a mess. I think it's almost like the alcohol system in this state. You can't reform it. You either have to just say we've created a mess beyond comprehension, or as you said, burn it down and build it all over.
Yeah, but the other thing too is with all the amenities of quality of life that's in Brownsburg, Fishers, Carmel, Zionsville, Greenwood, Greenfield, you name it. The thing is, if people don't like it, you can technically vote with your feet. You can move to a community that doesn't quote unquote tax you to death.
The problem is all the people are moving to these places and then they're making the people be taxed. There's a lot of small towns, Abdul, that are rapidly becoming not small towns anymore.
Oh, welcome to the 21st century.
Well, I know, right? So I do wonder if you're going to see them have to come back again in a couple of years and deal with this thing again, because you're going to, especially after these referendums, and if a bunch of them pass, people are going to be outraged saying, wait a second, we sent you here to fix this issue and now you've just made it worse.
Yeah, but with the referendum's like, hey, we gave you guys a choice, you voted for it.
Yeah, but come on now, you and I have had this conversation for years and nobody's been better at defeating these things than me, and I've seen how you defeat them. The schools have infinite advantage because they can use, first of all, they have the bully pulpit, right? They have access to all these government resources to promote what they're doing. And in the case of many of these school districts, they use taxpayer money to help the consultants, right? To help push the referendum. Most communities cannot be outspent 100-3 or 100-5, and you've got an entire government entity going up against you and defeat it. And then the worst part about it is if it fails, they can come back the next year and you got to do it again. Your whole life becomes trying to defeat your local government entity. That doesn't seem like much of an existence.
But you blew up the Death Star, didn't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm saying...
Hold on a second. But you blew up the Death Star, right? You showed that one man with one voice can deliver his people from the wilderness, almost like a Moses thing.
Stop.
Okay, I was like,
stop.
No, let me give you credit. But you've proven that referendums can be defeated with work and with limited resources, right?
Sure.
So here's what I do. RK Consulting LLC. There's your next business model right there, which is like, hey, we don't guarantee anything, but hey, you want to defeat a school referendum? Here's how you do it. I'll charge you $500 an hour.
I'm needed here with you.
Well, no, you can still do it. You can still do it part time. In your spare time.
Hey, real quick before we go,
that little light just came on in the back of your
head.
Yeah.
I'm like Batman. I do it for the good of the community. I'm not in it to get rich, as you can clearly see. Lugar Plaza. Let's talk about that for a second. This is an Indianapolis-based issue, but if you live in Central Indiana, you need to care about this. We got just a couple minutes left here. WTHR had an article about how bad Lugar Plaza has gone. Now, I'm going to describe
homeless people.
Well, Lugar Plaza is just outside of the greater downtown core, right? I think that's fair to say. It is part of downtown, but it's just out of sort of outside of what we consider that circle area. It is on East Washington Street, just past the greater downtown area. And like, kind of, what was the premise of Lugar Plaza? Like, how would you describe it?
Just sort of I won't say a monument, but sort of a tribute to Dick Lugar, who gave us Unigov, U.S. Senator, really sort of changed the dynamics of Central Indiana, Marion County, and made it what it is today.
Yeah, it's sort of it was a nice area people could gather, right? If you're working in the greater downtown area, you want to go there for your lunch, you want to walk around, whatever, right? It is not Central Park in New York, but it is, it is supposed to be a nice area. It has become, it's a hellhole, basically, at this point. WTHR reported there have been 53 incidents involving law enforcement since January 1st, 15 narcotics investigations, 8 arrests for warrants, 4 assaults, 3 weapons offenses, 1 robbery, and there have been 1,984 incidents in Lugar Plaza since 2021, including 489 last year. How does the city allow this to happen on what was once one of the crown jewels of the city of Indianapolis?
You don't have your act together, and your priorities are other things, and you figure like, hey, it's life in the city. People deal with it, which I understand that because I grew up in a city, and you'll have city issues that go along with that. But if you don't protect your crown jewels, your living rooms, your dining rooms, it's one thing to be like that room in the back will keep all the crap in, your parachute pants from 1999. Yeah. That's
better known as the East Side.
Yeah, it's like your junk room, which I get, but you got to protect your crown jewel. You got to protect your mile square. And if you don't protect, and if one portion of the mile square goes away, it all goes away.
Yeah, it's a total embarrassment. But speaking of not embarrassing, you, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, you are not embarrassing. Thank you as always.
My pleasure, my friend.
I'm Dr. Jim Dalton, President and CEO of Damar. Damar is a critical resource for thousands of people in Central Indiana, and it takes people like you to give them hope. With over 1,300 employees and hundreds of volunteers, Damar is always looking for people to come aboard. Whether it's a career or simply donating your time, there's a place for you here at Damar. Learn more about our mission at damar.org.
Kendall and Abdul-Hakim Shabazz. The program is Statehouse Happenings, your weekly look at what's going on with Indiana politics and government. Don't forget you can find Abdul on Twitter at ATTYAbdul, at ATTYAbdul. Be sure to bookmark his very fabulous website, indypolitics.org, indypolitics.org. While you're there, get yourself a cheat sheet subscription. Me, I'm on Twitter at Rob M. Kendall, at Rob M. Kendall. Again, thank you to indypolitics.org for housing and uploading the program this week. Thanks to WYRZ 98.9 in Hendricks County for allowing us to record the program there. For Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, I'm Rob Kendall. You've been listening to Statehouse Happenings.